Greenland's politics have been overwhelmed by US threats to take over the autonomous Danish territory for many months now. Recent allegations that 3 Americans attempted to infiltrate the Arctic island have further increased tensions. DW correspondent Jeppe Parrock is in Nuuk, where he's found that Greenlanders are growing weary.
Hastrina Holm and her sister Helena are clearing their garden before the snow comes back to Greenland. They say they've been reading the recent media reports about what the Danish press calls US infiltration in Greenlandic society with concern.
If Donald Trump came here to your house, what would you say to him?
I want to give him coffee and give him slap on face and let him go home. Tell him go home.
Their humour is balanced out by the very real overtures US President Trump is making, repeatedly saying he wants to buy Greenland. He says it's crucial for US national security due to its access to the Arctic, strategically important also for China and Russia. Greenland also has huge amounts of untapped mineral wealth. Pelle Broborg is the leader of the pro-independence, pro-America opposition Nalarak party in the Greenlandic parliament. And he's met, on at least 3 occasions, one of the 3 American citizens recently accused by the Danish press of nefarious activity. He says the man he met was clear about his intentions, business. But he doesn't want to make judgments about that man's character.
You cannot do covert infiltration in Greenland. Everybody knows everybody. People they're talking about, they gave interviews here on national television about why they're here.
Around 2/3 of Greenlanders want to become entirely independent from Denmark. It's currently an autonomous territory of its former colonial ruler. Pelle, like many other people we've spoken to here, believes Denmark is trying to create fear in Greenland to hinder their progress towards independence.
To make the comparison that all of a sudden 3 Americans infiltrating Greenland versus the 4,000 Danes that are living in Greenland that can vote for parliament, that always vote for non-independence parties.
The official position of the Greenlandic government was to join a Danish government statement calling the allegations of US infiltration unacceptable.
Whether private US citizens are trying to stir things up here, the American interest, it has changed things. Greenlandic public discourse is dominated by discussions about their future, and the international power plays are making that future ever more unclear.
In the beginning, we were joking a lot about, oh yeah, let's join America. But then when things started becoming more serious, young people especially have really been out here saying, no, we don't want to be owned by the USA. We can't get bought.
Oh, Greenland people are so neutral, so quiet. They don't shout. There's a lot of things we should be shouting about, but we are so neutral that we don't explode.
Whatever the Greenlandic people might be feeling, European politicians are clearly starting to become more concerned about the intentions of the US and are making frequent visits here. With the dark, extremely cold winters on the way, Hastrina says their priorities should be to remain focused on their lives here, on the land, not distracted by the turbulence of the global interest in their country.
DW correspondent Jeppe Parrock was in Nuuk in Greenland to file that story. He's now back in our studio in Brussels. Jack, any story with the word covert and Trump together in the headline is going to have us interested. It's an amazing pitch for a story. Is it a real story?
I can't quite hear exactly what you're saying, but let me just give you a bit of context of how we have to report in Greenland and try and talk to a lot of different people with the big divided opinions of the 57,000 people that live in Greenland. And in the capital Nuuk, there are so many different positions that exist. What we try and do in these reports is sort of find out exactly how it works. Now, this suggestion of infiltration, there have been multiple visits from the US Vice President J.D. Vance. We saw Trump's son arriving in January. There have been many public overtures towards the Greenlandic people. And the question is now, what is the United States going to do? Are they going to continue this motion to try and take over Greenland? Or will the Danes be able to do enough in Greenlandic society and in Greenlandic politics to try and keep the Greenlandic people on side?
I want to talk about the motivation of the Americans, Jack. Remind us why the US is so interested in owning Greenland, as President Trump has repeatedly stated.
Yeah, the first thing is security. That's his position. The access to the Arctic, to the high north, which China and Russia are also trying to eye up their options, firstly for shipping routes, but also for strategic military and defense issues. The United States, since the 50s, has had a very, very sizable base in the high end, right up north in Greenland, and that continues to be there, although it's much scaled back from the amount of troops and military installations that there were at the height of the Cold War. Now, pretty much across the board, the Greenlandic politicians and people that I spoke to, firstly in January and now just over the past week, they say, listen, the United States can come here. If they want more bases, they can continue to do it. They can wreck the high Arctic as much as they want. We are friends, we are allies with them, and they can continue to do so. That wouldn't take a buyout of the entire country or for Greenland to be the 51st state in order to do so. On the other side, there's also the issue of mineral wealth. There's known to be uranium, there's massive deposits of gold in Greenland. And as the ice caps, especially the ice cap in Greenland, continues to melt due to climate change, more of those mineral sites, potentially for mining, are being opened. And really, that is also a key issue that the United States is aware of.
So the stakeholders are the US, the Greenlanders, of course, and Europe. How is Europe responding to this?
Yeah, I mean, this is really it. The Danes have said that they're potentially going to increase what they call the block grant. So every year, Denmark gives Greenland the best part of 600 million euros. The Greenlanders all say that this money just creates a Danish installation, a Danish sort of authority within Greenland, and that it doesn't go to the Greenlandic people. And that that's partly why many of them want to be independent. Here in Brussels, the European Commission has said that they want to increase by around €500 million the money that the EU gives to Greenland over the next 7-year budget. Again, the Greenlandic people, there may not be very many of them, 57,000, but a large proportion of the people that we speak to say, we don't want the money coming from different international organizations. We want full independence of our country so that they say, can use their own mineral wealth, their own power, their own access, their own fishing, for instance, which is the largest industry in Greenland, that they can reap the benefits and the wealth of that for themselves. So this sort of question of finances, where the money actually comes from, that's the big question, and whether European support can be shown enough to try and keep them on side, that's the big question in Greenlandic politics right now.
Great to have you reporting from Greenland and from Brussels, DW correspondent Jack Parrock. Thanks so much.
Well, Jeppe Strandsbjerg is an associate professor in the Department of Arctic Science and Economics at the University of Greenland. He joins us from Roskilde in Denmark. Welcome to DW. How do you regard the current US efforts to increase its influence over Greenland?
Well, there's a recent episodes, developments, and then there's the fact that US have had significant interest in Greenland since the end of the Second World War. So US security interest is always there in the background, and US security interest in Greenland has been part of the development of the political development between Denmark and Greenland as well. So what has changed is of course, the rhetoric of Donald Trump and also the actions by semi-private individuals that have been visiting Nuuk on various occasions since the start of this year, and been doing this in a way which has attracted a lot of headlines and also created a lot of anger, frustration among some, at least in Greenland. So how do I consider this? I'm a little bit baffled in a way, because what is the point? You still you have to ask yourself what is the point of all this?
Do you see any benefits of the US owning Greenland?
I think the main line that we usually discuss among colleagues is that for the US, you would usually talk about either security interest or access to minerals, right? Security-wise, military presence-wise, the US can do a lot of things already. They have a very accommodating defense agreement with Greenland and Denmark, which allows them to do more or less anything they want. They can probably open new bases. And there has been a very accommodating, on the larger line, there has been a very accommodating stance toward the US from Denmark and Greenland over the years. So would US get anything out of controlling Greenland?
No, forgive me. I was really after. Do you see any benefits to Greenland of being owned by the US?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I misunderstood that. It depends on what the deal is, but no, not immediately. There's a lot of talk. Bolton was in Denmark the other day and said that Greenland ought to consider a deal like Puerto Rico. I don't think that the citizens of Puerto Rico are any better off than the citizens of Greenland. But it's a really difficult discussion, because what would be the deal, right? But at the moment, I can't see that the Greenlandic citizens would gain any sort of material or political freedom that they do not have within the existing setup.
All right, good talking to you. Thanks for joining us. Jeppe Strandsbjerg from the University of Greenland.
You're welcome.